We thought we would start our panel today by having the panelists introduce themselves, and then we have a short presentation. We'll share some important websites, and then there'll be time for questions and answers. So let me just briefly introduce myself. My name is Christine Stauber, and I am the PhD program director in the Department of Population Health Sciences, which hosts the epidemiology and environmental health concentrations in our PhD program. Nice to see you all. I'm excited about sharing our program with you today.
Hi, I'm so glad you're here. My name is Amanda Gilmore. I'm the PhD director of the Department of Health Policy and Behavioral Sciences, which hosts the concentrations of health promotion as well as health services. I'll pass it on to Denise.
Hello, everyone. I'm so glad you're here as well. My name is Denise Gouveia. I am the Director of Academic Assistance here in the School of Public Health at Georgia State University. Our office is in charge of advisement for both graduate and undergraduate students, as well as graduate admissions. And so I'm looking forward to this session and getting your questions.
We've also invited 2 current PhD students to attend our panel. So if either one of you would like to introduce yourselves, we could start alphabetical by first name. Grace.
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Grace Lin. I'm the 4-year PhD student with concentration of environmental health. And I'm originally from Taiwan. I'm an international student, but now I consider Atlanta as my second home. So nice to meet you guys.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nyla Flowers. I am a 3rd-year PhD student in the Health Policy and Behavioral Sciences Department, concentrating in health promotion and behavior. I'm originally from Charleston, and did y'all know anything else? Okay.
Thank you so much. So I think we'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to do a brief presentation, and then we'll have Dr. Gilmore share some more information, and then we'll open it up for questions. So even though it's been 4 years or more, can you guys all see my screen? I think we always still have to ask that. Okay, great. So today I'm going to talk briefly about our program. And as you heard from both Dr. Gilmore and from me, we're the program directors in the 2 different departments that comprise the School of Public Health. The PhD is a PhD in public health, and it has different concentrations. So today's talk is really just going to be a brief overview about why we think Georgia State University is the right school to do a PhD in public health. We'll talk about the program, we'll talk about the application process, and a couple of things that we think can help make your application successful. So if you aren't in Atlanta, you might not think that Atlanta is the public health capital of the United States, but being in Atlanta has certainly made it clear to me that we're a pivotal spot for public health. There are a number of important federal and non-governmental organizations that work in public health in Atlanta, including the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the American Cancer Society, just to name a few. There are lots of international organizations like CARE and the Carter Center that also are based in Atlanta, as well as other federal agencies that have major offices here. In our school specifically, the faculty are highly productive, they're kind, and they're committed to the success of our graduate students, as well as committed to building a culture of justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion in our curriculum, research, and mentoring. These are some important facts about our school. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is a top employer of our alumni, which rank over 1,700 students, and a large number of students that are both minority and also a large number of international students. And we've had a number of Fulbright students in our school over the last close to 2 decades. The public health program with the PhD is a 62 credit hour program focused on advancing health through leadership, scholarship, service, and to better the human condition and promote the common good. As a PhD student, we really focus on students to be trained in conducting research studies by understanding how to design research and analyze data and disseminate the results. But of course, one of the key features of our School of Public Health is that we have a strong emphasis on health disparities throughout the curriculum, research, and the practice of our program. The public health program with the PhD started in 2011, and we've had 83 graduates to date, or more, depending on the timing of their dissertation defense. But students in our program have gone on to serve in the Epidemic Intelligence Service. They have roles in academia. They may immediately go on to a postdoctoral fellowship, and some also take on research positions in the federal government. Our students that come to the program have a wide range of educational and professional experiences, and this really enriches our program quite a bit. For students that come to the program full-time, it is designed to be a 4-year program, but we do allow students to come to the program and go part-time, and approximately a third of our students are currently part-time students and work full-time. In terms of the requirements for the PhD program, upon admission to the degree program, each student is assigned a faculty advisor based on their research interest and fit. This often is also associated with a research program that the faculty member is working on. In addition, students are expected to establish relationships with 2 or 3 additional School of Public Health faculty members who should serve as part of the dissertation committee. And the School of Public Health is committed to offering assistantships and fellowships to our full-time students. These are competitive, and those with fellowships are expected to work at least 20 hours a week of work and attend a full schedule of classes. As I shared earlier, our school is broken into 2 departments outside of our other offices, like the Dean's Office or the Office of Academic Assistance. The Department of Population Health Sciences, currently chair of our department is Dr. Roby Greenwald, and I am the PhD program director, which covers the departments of epidemiology, the concentrations of epidemiology and environmental health. In the Department of Health Policy and Behavioral Sciences, Dr. Shannon South Brown is the chair, and Dr. Gilmore is the PhD program director, which covers the concentrations of health services and policy research and health promotion and behavior research. There are 6 required courses in the PhD program that all students, independent of their concentration, take. These range from quantitative methods in biostatistics and epidemiology to theory and practice in health and prevention and advanced research methods, as well as public health ethics. In addition, all students will take a doctoral teaching practicum. They will complete 9 credit hours for the doctoral dissertation, and they will take a doctoral professional and research seminar over the course of 2 semesters. Outside of formal coursework, we have an annual review with a faculty mentor. Students have a number of courses that they complete that are required through their program of study. I did mention that each student does a teaching practicum requirement, and we have a comprehensive assessment process that enables students to demonstrate that they're prepared to go from primarily coursework learning into the dissertation process. Lastly, all students complete a dissertation, which may take, depending on the time period, 1 to 2 years in the program. To apply to the program, there is one application that is completed and submitted through SOFIS, which currently I believe has a $145 fee. We do understand that the application fee can be burdensome for some. We're not able to waive the application fee for SOFIS, but you can apply directly to SOFIS through a waiver. And important, the deadline for applications is December 1st. The other thing that I wanted to share is that each year we work with faculty members in the school to highlight those who are specifically looking to recruit PhD students for the fall 2025 program. I've taken a screenshot here, but we have a list of these faculty members on the website that we'll share with you in a minute. And why that's important is that you are really at the PhD level applying to work directly with a faculty member. And so it's important for you to think through how you craft your statement of purpose and objectives to align with what you think you could accomplish with that person. In addition to the statement of purpose and objectives, you need to have letters of recommendation, and those should really speak to, why you're prepared and ready to take on this next phase, why this is the ideal setting for you at the next phase in your career or your academic journey. We recommend that you look through those that are trying to recruit PhD students and connect with them either by identifying their research areas. You could potentially connect with them via email to discuss how your work and interests align with their work. And, keep ahead of the application timeline. It's important to make sure that you're getting all of the materials in on time, including the things that are outside of your control, such as making sure that the people that are writing you letters of recommendation are able to complete them on time. Lastly, in addition to the opportunity that some applicants may identify in terms of fellowship positions, there are additional scholarship opportunities for students to look through to think about how they can fund their PhD program. And I've put the links here. We can talk about those briefly at the end as well. So this was a brief presentation. We are recording it. It will be available on our website if you missed any of the details. And these are the ways that you can contact us, Dr. Gilmore's email, my email, and as well as an email to the Office of Academic Assistance. So at this time, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'll pass it over to Dr. Gilmore.
Thank you. Are you able to see my screen? Okay, great. So I'm sure you all have been to this website already because you're here, but just in case you haven't, we did try to do a thorough job of outlining steps to apply that will help you be successful in your application. So as Dr. Stauber mentioned, a key part of this program is picking a mentor that you match with. And so really you're going to want to speak to that match in your application. And in the application, you'll actually be asked to list who you're applying to work with. So to learn more about what we offer here in the school in terms of areas of expertise and faculty who you might work with, we have some nice links here for you. I'll start with, and I already put in the chat, the one that Dr. Stauber mentioned, which is faculty accepting new students. And what's key here is you can click here at the Q&A to see some information about the faculty. So what kind of projects will the students be working on? Dr. Arias is going to bring in a student to work on Alzheimer's disease and related dementias with a focus on legal policies and ethical issues. You can see some current students and where her graduates have gone. And so you can do that for all the faculty here. So as you're crafting your application, you'll want to make sure that you show a match, because really the faculty are accepting a student to work with them rather than the program as a whole accepting a student. So make sure to look through these, read through them, and tailor your application to fit who you want to work with. I did also want to highlight, because we have something new this year, there is a specific fellowship for people who want really a career in academic research. So people who are interested in becoming principal investigators themselves, independent scientists. And this is focused on alcohol and violence prevention research with a health equity component. So if you're really interested in that specific area of research, check this out. It's a program that provides funding, but also coursework that aligns with that. And you really will still be following the same application process. You would apply to the public health program, and you would need to apply to work with a mentor who's on this list of faculty, but who's also taking a student this year, because again, you have to work with people who are taking students. So we have other fellowships as well. And we often get asked that question about, are there GRAs or fellowships associated with the program? There's actually a question that you can answer in your application, asking if you require a fellowship or if you're interested in a fellowship. Please indicate that you do need one or you want one, just so that way we know that. We decide fellowship decisions during that application process. So we don't have to figure that out ahead of time when we're reviewing the applications. We'll keep that in mind as we're considering the applicants and offer at that stage. I think that's everything I had to go through. And I know that our students do have some classes to get to right at 1. So I thought maybe we could see if I see some questions in the Q&A, and we've been working to answer those. We'll also answer them live. But I just wanted to see if there were any questions while our students are still here that you all might have specifically for current students. So I'll start there. Do you have any questions for Nyla and Grace?
I did see one in the chat that asked,
good.
apart from scholarship from fellowship, are there sources of funding for full-time students, especially for international students? So maybe, Grace, that might be something you could discuss.
Yes, I think my last year I was 2CI fellow, so my fundings came from 2CI funding. So other than that, my advisor, his grant also supported my stipends and my tuition waivers. So yeah, I got a lot of financial funding from 2CI fellowship and also another fellowship called Urban Transformations. I'm still doing the Urban Transformation Fellowship with the law school students. So I would say GSU has a lot of fellowship and scholarship funding sources. So yes.
And just to clarify, Grace didn't apply specifically for those when coming to the school. I'm guessing you indicated in your application that you were interested in a fellowship, and so we were able to kind of put that together at the offer stage, so that she would know, you're being offered a position here, but it also comes with this fellowship. Did I catch that right, Grace?
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
Did you want to add anything to that, Denise? And you don't have to if you don't have anything to add, but.
No, I don't have anything specific to add to that in regards to funding for international students. It works a little differently for international students, and most that come are going to be fully funded in order for them to come to us. And so usually they're funded through faculty grants or 2CI or Next Gen, those types of fellowships and scholarships that we have available, and also provide a stipend and tuition waiver.
There's a question that I don't know, Nyla, if you'd be able to answer this, but question for the students. How many of the classes are in person versus online? What's your experience with that?
I want to say most of my classes were online. I had one hybrid class and maybe 2 in person, but my first year was completely online. And then my second year is when I had those hybrid in-person classes.
And also, Nyla, if you started in 2021, is that your year? We were still sort of in the throes of the COVID pandemic, and we were taking a more conservative approach to in-person classes than perhaps other professions because of the nature of our, public health practice. I would estimate maybe 50% of our classes are in person. At the required classes, probably 50% are in person and 50% are online right now, this semester, for example. One question was about funding opportunities for students that are not residents of Georgia, but of other states. And Nyla, that might apply to you. I will say for the students that come in with a fellowship, they have a tuition waiver, which means that they do not have to pay for tuition. They do have to pay for fees. And they also get in that tuition waiver, correct me if I'm wrong, Denise, they are not paying out-of-state tuition fees. Is that correct?
No, they would not be. The waiver would cover whatever that tuition is, if it's in-state or out-of-state. There are different waiver types for that.
All right. We can start going through and answering the questions just in order. We've been answering some of the questions in the Q&A as we're going. If we answered it live, I tried to indicate that, but if we didn't actually answer your question and we thought you did, please ask again so we can make sure to answer everything. So the next question, I'm just going in order. I'm a prospective student. I submitted my application through Sophis. Do I have to email supervisors I wish to work with? No, you don't have to email them, but a lot of people do, just to let people know that you've applied. You can send your CV, but you absolutely don't have to. The reason for that is if you applied to work with them and they're taking students, then they're going to be reading your application either way. So it's up to you. If you have specific questions, you can reach out, and a lot of people do, but you don't have to. Dr. Stauber, did you have a different answer to that?
No, I think that we strongly encourage you to pay attention to who's recruiting, because that's going to be the most likely opportunity for you to get access to a fellowship. And if the faculty member that you're interested in working with is not on that web page, it's less likely that they have the financial resources to support a PhD student. It doesn't mean that it's impossible for that match to work, but it would be important to prioritize those that are listed as currently accepting PhD students.
And
Not
Grace
all of those,
and
sorry, not all of those faculty members will have a fellowship to support, but they might be more interested in working with a student that wants to work full-time and come part-time. Go ahead.
just for a data point, Grace and Nyla, did you reach out to the faculty you're working with now before you applied?
I did not, but I was already familiar with my advisor. I had, gone on the website, looked up her publications to kind of really get a feel for who she was and whether or not I felt like it would be a really good fit. And that turned out really well for me.
For my case, it was a long time ago, and if I don't recall wrong, I think I did mention that I'm happy to work with my advisor, but I don't think I emailed him, but I got a chance to interview with him, and then after interview, he just said, "Oh, it's nice to see you, and it's nice to having a talk with you," and then everything works out, and then he invited me to become his PhD student. So I think probably you can mention in your SOP saying, I'm happy to work with which faculty, but it's not necessary to really email them.
Thanks. That's helpful. I think data points of students that got in. The next question, do part-time students need to work with a faculty member too? Yes. The answer is yes. Everyone is really accepted to work with a faculty member. And since it's a PhD program, everyone's getting the same PhD program, whether you're part-time or full-time. So you do need to work with a primary mentor. That way they can help you through the program. They would serve as your dissertation advisor. Like, you really do need that match. What are the suggested work hours while being full-time? Dr. Stauber, do you have an answer for that?
Well, I think it depends. If you're a full-time student and you have a fellowship that's supporting you, then you work with your academic advisor to determine the work schedule that works best for you. Most of our classes take place in the afternoon or evening. and they take place once a week for 2.5 hours at a time. So if you work full time, it can enable you to attend classes, which sort of links to another question that we had in the chat, which was, how is the class schedule set up and are the online courses synchronous? The majority of the online courses are synchronous, which means you attend for 2.5 hours at a time. Certainly, that can vary depending on the class, but if they are synchronous, if they are online, they tend to be online synchronous classes. And we set up a schedule frequently that might be stacked, where we try to enable, facilitate students coming to campus, but we are also trying to avoid offering classes at the same time. So they tend to be offered between Monday through Thursday between 1 and 7. There is someone with their hand up, so maybe we could allow them to talk. Brianna? You're me.
Hello, everyone. I'm sorry. I didn't think I raised my hand, but you did answer my question.
Okay, great. Well, then I will, remove your permission to talk. Sorry.
And I just wanted to chime.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I just want to chime in with the work hours. I think it will really also depend on your course load. So my first year, I took all of my core classes. I'm not a biostats heavy person, so it was a lot of time outside of class, just getting through my homework, making sure I understood the content. So like my first year, I couldn't imagine having a part-time job and being able to maintain. So just something to kind of keep in mind.
Yes, and our students who work full-time tend to not take a full-time course load for that very reason. Our PhD courses are PhD level. They're very rigorous and take a lot of time, as Nyla was mentioning. So our students who are working full-time tend to take a reduced course load for that reason. So that way you can be successful.
There were just a couple of questions in the question and answer about the requirements. We do require people to have a master's degree or equivalent. That may be, depending on the location, a medical degree, a veterinary degree. Denise, do you want to chime in a little bit about what kind of terminal degrees from other locations we allow?
If we're looking at, definitely at least a master's degree is required for applying to our program, but we can get students who are applying. They may have JDs, they may have MDs. There are various number of classifications depending on what country they're coming from. They may have a different name, but a lot of them translate into MDs in the United States, but they're called all sorts of different certifications depending on which country a student is coming from. So it's something we would have to look at to say, is this a terminal degree? Is it public health related? We're also looking for that as well.
We still have 32 questions in the chat, so I'm gonna kind of do some quick fire off reading. So there's a question about MPH student here at Georgia State. We're so excited you're here and applying. We do not take any transfer credit from other programs. So you would still have to take new classes. You might be able to take, if you already took a class listed on the electives list, you would just need to take a different class. So we don't offer any waivers of classes, except there are some exceptions to that in terms of, like, you may not have to take a certain class, but you would take a different class in replacement of it. But you can talk about that at the application stage or the admission stage, and we can kind of help you through that. Someone's looking into super commuting from New York City. Oh, that's exciting and sounds like a lot of work. So you would We really don't have control over like the days of the classes, except for what Dr. Stauber mentioned in terms of when classes are offered. But I will say that you'll know pretty well in advance when the classes will be offered, because we post our schedule very far in advance. And I think, as Dr. Stauber mentioned, most of those classes are going to be between Tuesday and Thursday. Is that right? Are they mostly between Monday through
Monday through
Thursday?
Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah, between 1 and 7. Yeah.
And a lot of our classes, well, about half of them are offered online. So you'll be able to know your schedule ahead of time. And so you can decide, you can pick your schedule based on that. If you're a full-time student, then you will really be able to spread that out because you have 4 years. Most of our students take the core courses in the first couple years, but if you can't for like travel reasons, you might be able to spread that out a little more. How many applicants do you receive each year and what percentage are accepted? We usually receive anywhere between 100 and 150 applications. And our cohorts are really depend. We don't necessarily take a certain percentage. We take however many are really well matched with faculty. So you can get an idea of how many we're planning to accept this year by looking at the faculty that are taking students. And then it really depends if there's a really good match or not.
I will say on average, we have between 10 and 12 new students each year. That's on average.
Great. Do you want to take some questions?
Sure. And Laura has raised her hand. Would you like to talk, Laura? I'll let you talk.
Yeah, I had a question. Thank you for hosting this. I am faculty in another unit in the Lewis College without a terminal degree. Background is healthcare administration and policy. Um, do you all have a history of entertaining the idea of faculty from outside of public health to enter into your competitive program?
We do. We have a faculty member now who's a student this year. However, you do need to have a terminal degree, a master's degree to
Right.
apply.
Yeah.
But yes, we do take current faculty, and we love our current faculty.
Thank you.
Yeah, we have, I can think of at least 2 that are in our program right now. Okay, so I will go back to the Q&A. I think, a DVM would likely classify software or computational tools. I will say a lot of our training in the quantitative methods has been built in SAS. However, we are also launching a graduate certificate in biostatistics where the software and computational tools will be also in other programs. R is one that's being emphasized as well. And there are other courses that are offered both through the School of Public Health, but other departments, as well as the library that offers short workshops and different data analytical tools. There are a number of questions about English proficiency scores, Denise. If you are doing a degree at another U.S. institution, do you need to submit TOEFL scores?
No, if you have completed a degree in the United States, we do not require TOEFL or IELTS. If you've already been to a U.S. University and completed a degree there, so that's not necessary.
What about if your score is going to expire?
So if your score is about to expire, and I think I answered someone earlier with that, get it to us before it expires. One of the questions I had was that it would expire in November. I think that's fine. Get it to us so we have it on file in November. And then we'll be able to use that score. If you don't get it to us before it expires, then you won't be able to send it to us. ETS won't allow you to send it out after it expires. So try to get it to us before. So at the time of application, it should be a valid score, which it will be. provided you submit it before it expires.
Okay, there's a question about other fees that have been paid despite full funding, like health insurance. So yes, students do have to pay both fees and health insurance. Those are available online, and we can put a link to that, how much those cost. Off the top of my head, I don't know, and wouldn't ask our students to tell us either, because it does.
We'll provide a link.
Every year. Yeah. There are let's get through these questions here, and then we can offer the people that have raised their hands an opportunity to, as even if you're completing another degree, there won't be transfer credits to the PhD program. We've discussed TOEFL. Yes, if you're from another institution and you do not have, if you're from a foreign institution, do not have a U.S. institution degree, you need to submit your TOEFL scores. So I think we've answered that question. Should I be clicking answer live here and saying done?
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
TOEFL, okay. Does each faculty member who seeks new students only choose one? It really depends on the scope of the project, the match with the faculty member. I will say that it's less common that a faculty member has 2 or 3 fellowship positions, but that's not entirely impossible. So it really depends on the match and the right combination of fit. The short answer is no. Some can choose more than one. Would it be possible to schedule a campus visit with potential mentor meetings? That would be possible. We do invite applicants to have a Zoom interview once we've gone through an initial applicant screening. But we don't schedule those potential mentor meetings, and that would really be up to the individual to request a meeting with the potential mentor. And some faculty may or may not have time to do that prior to the application cycle. Did you guys want to add anything else about that?
No, maybe we should ask Nyla and Grace their experience in the interview process, and if you felt like meeting your faculty mentor at that time was sufficient.
For me, I think so. I will admit that it was a little intimidating. I might have just had, interview jitters, but as a student, I found her background, her CV to be very impressive. So it made me really want to be prepared for that interview. But even the interview, I had a lot of conversation for her to give me more in depth about, her interest in what she does. And I feel like it, again, prepared me walking into my first semester, kind of having an idea of what I'd be doing and who I'd be working with.
Yes, for my case, yes, definitely helped me a lot. I still remember I had to woke up in the midnight because I was in Taiwan. It's a time difference. I woke up in 3 a.m. and had the interview with Dr. Stauber and also my advisor, Dr. Greenwald. And I basically asked Dr. Greenwald a lot of questions about his grants, and what we're gonna do if I become his PhD student. So I basically have already known what I'm gonna do for my dissertation during my interview. So that really helped me a lot.
I will say most people don't know what they're doing for their dissertation at the interview stage, so don't feel like you need to know that. But that's really impressive, Grace.
So I'll head back to the questions, and then we'll see if those aren't answered. There are a couple people that have their hand raised. So Umar, if the language is English, then you don't need to submit a TOEFL. Correct, Denise?
That is correct. We have a list of countries.
Yeah.
So yes.
Can we send Wes evaluation after acceptance? No, we need those. We need official evaluations. Another question, my background is in statistics, but my research experience in master's is in public health. If you have a master's degree, you're eligible to apply. And it might be really, if you review the faculty interest, they may want someone with quantitative skills. If you are applying part-time, can you look into faculty not listed? Yes, you may, and we could match you depending on the topics of interest. So it's not, as I mentioned, independent of part-time or full-time applicants. There may be faculty members that you really want to work with that would be willing to accept a student, but certainly you can look beyond that. It's just most of the faculty that are interested in bringing on students are in that list. Do any of the programs have an international focus? It really depends on the faculty member and their own work. There are some, I would say, again, depending on the faculty member's area of expertise. Most of our PhD students may work on, topics that could have an international focus, but it depends. So we aren't gonna give you that estimate, Israel, about the cost. We put a couple links in the chat. It's hard for us to give you that estimate without you looking through those details. With the possibilities for scholarship, the research concentration in bioethics, I will say that Dr. Arias Professor Arias works a lot in bioethics related to the topics that she's interested in, specifically Alzheimer's or cognitive decline. So I think, looking through the faculty expertise is important to see if that aligns with your interests. Is it required to provide financial statements? After admission, yes, for the I-20 purposes, but need to wait till you're admitted into the program. No one in environmental health is currently accepting students. No, I will say that right now our environmental health faculty are likely not primarily accepting students. That's not to say that it isn't possible. It's just that it's a combination of funding and timing. So if you're really interested in them, you could still reach out and see if anyone's interested, but currently we don't have anyone listed in environmental health that's accepting students, likely because they don't have the PhD level funding. We require faculty to commit to 4 years of fellowship funding or close to 4, depending on the situation. So my question is in regard, so if our interest aligns with someone not listed, should we choose that person? I really think if you're very passionate about a topic area and the faculty that are accepting PhD students are not doing that work, then it might not be the best match for you because it really is, linked to the strengths and research areas that the faculty members are working on. I don't know if you want to add anything.
Well, I think you would need to make a case as to how the connection is there. So, so you may be interested in a very specific topic area that the faculty mentor isn't, but maybe they use the same methodology that you're really interested in learning. Or maybe you would be learning, for example, if you want to develop interventions, you want to work on like how to develop interventions for specific cultural communities, and someone has experience in developing interventions for other communities, like you could make that tie, but you'd really need to make a case in your statement because remember, faculty are reviewing your applications to determine the match as well. So it's not just about whether you're qualified, it's also, is there a good match there? So you'll just have to you'll have to probably work harder on a match, and you'll want to be somewhere that you can learn that specific area of expertise. So the match goes both ways. Do you want me to take them, Christine?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so on average, how many years will it take a part-time student to complete the program? I don't know that we have that average calculated. It's really dependent on the student because we have students that take courses every semester as a part-time student, and some that take, that they don't take courses every single semester, but manage enrollment throughout the year. So we do have a limit on how long you can be in the PhD program, but there isn't like necessarily an average that we have.
I've had a PhD student that worked full time and still did her degree in 4 years.
That's impressive. Um, so, um, so a master's degree in zoology, that's fine. Any master's degree is fine. You just have to make a case for why you're interested in a PhD in public health. And you may need to take some MPH level courses to kind of catch you up. It's in the handbook, but we can talk about that if admitted, of like what courses that would be. Is there room for transfer of credit? No, we don't transfer credit. However, as we said, we might waive a class, but you would need to take a different class instead of that. So we don't waive credit in the PhD program. There's a question about if PhD students are typically funded. You would know that at the time of acceptance if you're a funded or not funded student. If you need funding, please indicate that in your application. And we typically don't take students that need funding to come that don't have funding to come. So we try to offer, if you need funding, we usually have that acceptance come with funding. So you can kind of indicate that in your application. For analytical tools, I think we touched on this already, but we primarily use SAS, but there's some new courses coming out in R. I will say it depends also on what mentor you're working with, because mentors use different statistical packages as well. Like I use SPSS and M+. But that doesn't mean that your classes are going to be in that. So you'll probably get to learn a variety of statistical packages here in your program.
Maybe we could ask Nyla and Grace what are they using statistical software programs and what they're using?
Yeah.
I'm using SAS, R, MATLAB, and something specific focused on air pollution like iGrow, and Python. So I use multiple softwares.
I'm using SAS mostly, but I have had a course in R. It was data visualization, so I haven't done like statistics in R just yet, but primarily SAS as well.
Thank you.
And if you all need to head out to classes, you're welcome to. Don't feel like you have to stay here until the very end. So we'll know if you're leaving for a reason.
Can I just ask, Laura, do you have another question, or does your hand just still raise? The same with Umar. If you would like to talk, keep your hand up. Otherwise, okay. I'm gonna go with Umar first, and then Laura. If that's okay, we take a break from the Q&A. Hi, Umar.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. First of all, I want to thank you for this opportunity to have this conversation with you guys. So just like I said, or just like you said earlier, most of the candidate you got are from the CDC. So also I'm from the CDC.
We can no longer hear you if you're talking.
Since I got regarding the TOEFL. But what I want to know is that is there a kind of scholarship, because I'm interested in scholarship in the program.
So we've shared some details about the fellowship opportunities. It really is it's not guaranteed. It varies quite a bit depending on the match with the faculty member. But if you specifically say in your application, I need a fellowship to come to the program,
Okay.
that will be considered.
Okay. All right. So I will indicate that in the application.
Yes. Thank you.
All right. Once more, thank you so much for this opportunity.
You're welcome. Thanks for your interest.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's come back to a few more Q&A and then we'll get to Crystal. So, I'm not sure. This one maybe Denise, if someone completed a master's at a UK university, do they need to demonstrate English proficiency?
That's tricky question. I think we have, because usually we're looking at U.S. Institutions, but if they have completed a degree that we can see that it was instructed in English, I think that that is a case for not having to take the English proficiency. But usually, even coming from the UK, they would have to have a West, and it would tell us if they completed that degree in English. And that helps us make that decision about if the TOEFL or IELTS is needed or not.
Thank you. So are there exemptions for applicants? Sorry, can a part-time student and dedicate to work 20 hours a week and get tuition reduction? That's you have to enroll full-time to have any kind of graduate research assistantship. So typically a part-time student wouldn't be offered a fellowship. I'm not sure I've made that clear, but yeah. English, if English is the official language, you do not need to have the TOEFL.
And I just added a list of countries in the chat that are exempt from TOEFL IELTS.
Great, thank you. For part-time students, are there opportunities to select a potential mentor? Yes, it's potential for sure if you're not requiring a fellowship or funding. They also have to be willing to do the mentorship. And so we do look at that as well and invite them. If you mention someone that's not on our list, but you mentioned them in their application and you've also indicated that you don't need funding, we will invite them to look at your application. Is it compulsory to add your research topic to your statement of purpose? It's not required, but I think it's important for you to have a topic area that you're interested in because it helps us align with who should be reviewing your application, what kind of research you want to do. I know that when I applied to a PhD program, I wasn't fully sure of what I wanted to do, but I knew a general area and I knew sort of what work I wanted to take on. And that may change during your time, but I think it's important that it aligns with people that have expertise in our school. For applicants who plan to work full time, how is it? It's possible you can be matched with someone that's not listed on the link of accepting new students. For example, last year, I was not on the list and I accepted a student. So that's all to say. Yeah. We can convert part-time later if select fully full-time. Not usually. I think it's less common if you're committing to go full-time to the program. It doesn't mean if you're paying for it yourself, then you could take fewer credit hours. But if you're offered a fellowship, you cannot take fewer credit hours. I don't know if you have to be full-time when you're offered a fellowship. I'm interested in health services and research. If you do not have a master's degree, you cannot apply to the PhD program or some other terminal degree. So if you only hold a bachelor's degree, you cannot apply to the PhD program at this time. Okay. After applying through Sophist, are students waiting to hear back from GSU via email, or should they be reaching out specifically to the faculty member? An option to check on status, but unsure if that's accurate. I don't know. I mean, I think it's important for you to connect with the faculty member if you can, to say, I'm really interested in working with you. I've applied. These are my topic areas of interest. Because, then they'll be on the lookout for your application. But Denise, could you answer the question about the, Sophist status?
Certainly. Usually we start going through the Sophist applications. We'll be doing that pretty soon. And then we do reach out to applicants to let them know if anything's missing, is it complete, what's the timeline for hearing back from us, because we do have a timeline where we review and then there's an interview stage and things like that. So we do respond back out to applicants and let them know if their application is actually complete or is there something missing and what do we need. So that will be happening from our office, from graduate admissions.
Thank you, Denise. I've allowed Crystal to be able to speak since she had her hand up.
Yeah. Hi. Hi, good afternoon. I wanted to know, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to know what are the maximum number of years allowed to complete the PhD?
Oh, I think it's 9 or 10 in our
9.
handbook. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. Mhm.
Okay. Thank you, Crystal. Um, I think we've already answered this question about for applicants that plan to work full time, they may get, yeah, sorry, I've already done that one. Done these other ones.
Yeah, there's two at the bottom left. I
Okay.
think.
Can we leave it blank or just mark that I won't be adding any standardized tests instead of TOEFL? I think, as long as you think that it's not required, then they just leave it blank. Is that correct, Denise?
That's correct.
And then after you've received admission, when is it appropriate to pay? You will be connected with if you're an international student, you will be connected with the International Student Scholar Services to help you process your visa. And it would not be appropriate until you've gotten your visa to start paying tuition because they will accept your tuition and they will let you register for classes. Sometimes that can happen. So not until you've gotten your visa would it be appropriate to pay tuition. Okay.
Since we only have 1 minute, if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A, or you can reach out to us after.
Yeah.
We will send the slides as well as the recording, and the recording will be updated on the website. So that website is here. I'll just put that in the chat so that way everyone has it. But we are so happy that you all came today. And special thanks to Nyla and Grace, as well as Denise, for answering all of these wonderful questions. And we're so excited to see your applications. It's always an exciting time.
Yes,
Dr.
and thank you so much. And just quickly, Ifeoma, yeah, you just have to have a master's degree by the time you enroll in the program. So if you're going to graduate in December or May, December 24, May 25 with a master's degree, that's fine. Yeah, great. Thank you. And we appreciate your time and interest in the program.